what are they doing?
They're dividing up China.
They're dividing up China. It says Xin, and Xin is C-H-I-N-E. That's French for China. So this is, you can assume that this is drawn by what?
French
author.
Yeah, by a French author. And also, to no surprise, that the French are kind of outside. French are looking in. They're not as involved because the French at that time, in reality, they were taking Indochina. So Vietnam was more of what France was looking at in southern China, and so that's why if you go to Vietnam, there's a lot of French influence there. Yeah, they can speak French there, but English on the other hand is like not so much. Right. Well, no, not so much until the Vietnam War, and that's when they picked up the English. Another picture. What's going on here? Who's the bear?
Russia.
Russia. Who's the lion?
British.
Look carefully. Yeah, Germany. The pointy hat. Who's this?
France chicken.
France, the rooster.
Right, France. The cock.
USA.
is an eagle.
Germany, the Black Hawk.
Germany is the Black Hawk. Then didn't we just say this guy's Germany? Austria. How is this Austria?
Austria's there, down there.
Austria's down here. Who's
What
this?
is
Germany? Prussia? No, Prussia's here. Germany.
Britain.
That's Britain. British lion. Lion typically represents Britain. So here's a situation where you see a spiky hat and you're like, okay, that's Germany.
Yeah.
But if you see Germany here, it's like that's got to be Britain then.
There's China then.
Okay, here's the dragon. China the dragon.
There's Japan.
Right, and there's also says China here. Where's Japan?
The left.
Yeah.
What is it? Korea. I see Korea. Sky.
Where's Korea?
Sky.
What?
Korea is sky.
Skip that.
Never mind.
I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore that silly comment. All right, and then there's this.
Wow. More Japan.
Yeah.
Beating China.
What does it say here?
Giant killer.
Jap the giant killer. Japan, basically getting ready to slice and dice China. And does China look very sharp? No, right?
She looks like
What does the shield say?
Wow.
King.
Wang, right? King. And China's lying down, and your knife is underneath. Here you have Japan with a very fine sword. And here if you look at the Chinese blade, it's actually quite dented and not in a very good shape. Another picture. Here you have, what's going on here?
Korea fish. Korea.
Korea, right? Korea was Korea. That's French. Yeah, and so Korea was actually China and Japan both wanted a piece of Korea.
What's Russia doing?
Russia is watching from afar.
They want warm water port.
Yeah, Russia wanted a warm water port, and Korea actually part of that, right? And so here you have a situation where this is kind of showed the Sino-Japanese War, where there was a showdown between Japan and China for Korea, and Russia's watching carefully because Russia wants a piece of it as well. And so the war breaks out, and here you have a picture of the Chinese troops, and they look pretty modern, right? You have the Chinese officer riding a horse, and they have a cannon. And here you have a picture. It's kind of like a propaganda picture in which. Why is it divided like this? By the way, anybody know? Why is it divided like this?
Paper wasn't big.
Paper wasn't big enough. No.
The stamping thingy.
Japanese
The what?
Russia.
The stamping thingy in Korea we have the 제사.
What is it called?
경품.
명품.
Yeah, it's fold. Fold. You put it there, and you can stand behind it and change your clothes or whatever. And that's what it is. In Chinese, it's called gingfeng. Gyeongpong. Is that what it's called in Korean? Okay, yeah, same thing. And what it is basically it's blocking in. So this was actually sold in Japan during that time, and it's to raise nationalism, right? Imagine putting this at your home, and it's like our country kicking butt. Pretty sweet, right? And so here you have a situation where you have a Japanese officer slicing and dicing and taking care of business against the Chinese. Same thing, right? More Japanese officers taking care of business. And you look here, you can see their hairstyle. There's Q, right? The front of the head is shaved bald. Back there's a Q. Oh, anybody have an idea where that came from?
Sushi.
I'm gonna ignore that. Not
China.
Manchuria. Why would Manchurians do that?
Why did
To make them different from China.
No, they weren't shaving their heads just because I'm gonna be different.
Nationalism?
Not quite.
Is it
No.
part of nationalism?
No, it came from a very real, practical reason. The Manchurians, how did they fight war?
Oh, did they put the blade?
Sword.
They put their swords in the hair? I don't think so.
No, the back at the end of the
The back of the hair? No, that's from movies. I've seen those movies where they have the Q and they're like, it's like nice. Or, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, not exactly. The real reason is because the front of the head is shaved. Because they were a horseback riding culture, the nomadic culture, and so when you're a nomadic and you're riding a horse, what's one of the most dangerous things to do when you're riding a horse?
Oh, when hair blocks your view.
Okay, number one, your hair blocks your view, and there's another one reason. What happens if you ride under a tree and you don't cut your hair?
You get stuck with.
Yeah, your hair might get stuck in a tree and you might, ow, it hurts. Right? So your hair gets stuck in a tree and you start hanging there. I was like, hey, what's up? Your horse is gone. You want to help me down? Right? And so what people did for horseback riding cultures was they shaved the front of their head so the hair doesn't get in the way. The back of it is tied up into a queue, kind of like a very long ponytail. Just cut your hair. And that is so that it's easily organized. And so you see movies where they have a long ponytail, wrap it around your neck, wrap it around somewhere, wrap it in a ball, right? And so that's kind of what the cues were for. It's also because and the Chinese all the Chinese had to do it because the Manchurians made a law that you have to have a queue and shaved head, and that shows a form of a compliance to the Manchurian dynasty. And so a lot of Chinese actually hated that because Chinese traditionally, if you watch those Chinese movies nowadays, they typically have regular hair, right? Just really long hair, but they don't shave the front of the head. But that shaving and doing a queue is to show a very suppliant attitude towards the Manchurian dynasty. So, anyways, Chinese cues, Japanese people kicking butt. And here's a picture of yeah, the Titanic sinking, and here's Jack. And what's the girl's name?
Rose.
And Rose, Jack and Rose. Okay, so you're a Titanic fan? Right, but Jack and Rose in the front here, and the ship's sinking. Not exactly, but actually it's around the same time. It's actually the same time period. And this boat is sinking, and it's a very dramatized version of the Japanese. The Japanese artist won't be able to swim undersea and then look at it, hey, it's sinking there, and then draw it. It's more of a drawing out of the imagination, and this is what it should look like. They drew it. So if you look here, the Chinese are surrendering after the Sino-Japanese War. What's interesting about this picture? What are some observations that you have? Yep.
Modernized Japan.
Yeah, Japan looks very modern. It looks even Western, doesn't it? It looks even Western. What else?
They're on a
They're on a boat. Okay.
They're British. Sorry.
They're British. Where?
Behind Chinese.
Yeah, behind the Chinese. You look at that. You have the Chinese bowing, but you also have some British there. Yeah, or foreigners. Yeah, they're definitely not Chinese. Right? They don't have the Manchurian hat, the Mandarin hat. They don't have the Mandarin outfit. They're dressed in modern Western attire. And because the Chinese, like I said before, employed Western generals to fight for them. And here you have the Japanese having the Chinese surrender, but it also implies that the Westerners were kind of lost to Japan as well. And finally, here they signed a treaty. Here's Li Hongzhang at that time, one of the main Chinese leaders, the leader of the Beiyang army at that time, and surrendering to the Japanese. And you have Japan entering the club, right? What is this picture talking
They were fit now. They were considered as powerful.
They were considered as powerful.
World
Really?
power.
Those.
Did they look interested in having Japan join their club?
No.
No, not really. Oh, what makes you think this is Japan, by the way?
The shoes.
The shoes, right? He's wearing the traditional Japanese shoes.
Monkey.
The face. The face, yeah, he has the typical Asian face in political cartoons. Okay, and then here you have the other powers, and they don't look very interested in having him join, but he's nonetheless joining the club. What's the club?
World
People,
power.
World powers, okay.
People who actually conquered other lands or have a lot of wars versus one in most cases.
Yeah, these are I guess the term I'm looking for is more like the imperial powers. Yes, they are. They're the countries that really drove imperialism.
Who's that behind?
Who's there, by the way? Who's there?
Russia.
Germany.
Russia's there. Germany's there. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's Britain here. I'm guessing one of these guys, maybe this guy.
Yeah.
But this is Germany and this is Russia. That's pretty clear. And the rest are kind of like the imperial,
Behind
imperial
Japan.
powers. Behind Japan, it's just the guy opening the door.
Doorman.
The doorman. That looks kind of sinister. And so the war over China with China was over Korea, and here you have a case where Japan then takes on Russia, and Russia is because they were fighting for influence in Korea as well. Russia wanted to get in and have a pilot in this. And so the Sino-Japanese War was in 1894, 1895. 10 years later, the Russo-Japanese War happens, and it's in 1904 and 1905. And where it was basically, they fought there. The land armies, major land armies were here, land battles, and the major sea battle is here. It was one battle which finished it all, and we'll be watching a video on this later on. But where essentially the Tsar ordered his Baltic fleet. Where's the Baltic, by the way?
Greece.
Yeah, on the other side of the world, right? To sail all the way down the coast of Africa, right, and back up and through here to take on Japan. It took 7 months. So you have the Russian Tsar ordering them to sail across the world, and it took them 7 months to get there. What happens after you sail for 7 months?
Tired.
Yeah, they weren't very ready for war. In fact, by then the Russian fleet was just as corrupt as it was very corrupt, just like the country. And people were able to become officers by purchasing their positions. They paid money for those positions, and so here you have a Russian army, which not very legitimate, but the officers, and they're poorly trained. The equipment was okay, but you sail around the world. You get there, makes the order to okay, we're gonna make a stop at Vladivostok first. And Japanese predicted that they'd show up there, and that led to the Battle of Tsushima, where the whole Baltic fleet, only 3 boats made it to Vladivostok. The rest were taken down by the Japanese. Right, we'll see a video on that later on. So here's a kind of a series in which it shows kind of how things were broken down. Port Arthur is here, and Korea is here, yes, but Japan really wanted influence on Port Arthur because having a foothold in Korea and partially into Manchuria really will allow Japan to further expand. And so the military in Japan really saw that as a priority in their agenda. So first, they kicked out the Chinese in 1895 after the Sino-Japanese War. They kicked out the Chinese. Boom. Right. So you see, Japanese guy, Chinese Q. Boom. Kick him out. Then the Russians came by and threw out the Japanese because the Japanese declared that they wanted to keep the Port Arthur, but Russia and I forgot. I think it was Italy and France. I'm not exactly sure, but Russia and 2 other countries in Europe stepped in and said, "No, you're not taking that."